morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at a card that might be the next great support Pokemon. But will it? Let's have a look, shall we? It's Eldegoss, and for some reason, right, in the Sword and Shield block, Pokemon are loving Eldegoss. Let's not forget the one from Sword and Shield is really good, as is Gossifleur from whom it evolves, to be fair. Apparently it's a good Pokemon. Now our translation does come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, one of our very, very favourites here. And if we start off with the basics, 180 HP is low for a Pokemon V. Not quite as low as Morpeko, but other than that, basically about as low as we get. It's also got a weakness to fire, which we don't like, because welded X are everywhere. Reshiram and Charizard is awesome. Yeah. Fire's a really good typing right now. It's not a great weakness. We do like the retreat cost of 1. It means U-turn board and escape board will give us free retreat. And as for being a grass Pokemon, I mean, to be fair, you're a basic grass Pokemon, so that means you can use Netball to search out either this or a basic grass energy, or indeed any basic grass Pokemon. So that's quite nice. That's kind of cool. It's alright. If you don't get KO'd, there's plenty of healing, like Life Forest Prism Star or the Shaman from Lost Thunder or things of that nature. We do have Rillaboom to accelerate energy. You might not need it here. It's colourless energy after all, but you never know. Could be fun. It's not a bad time to be a grass Pokemon. In terms of weakness, I suppose you're hitting Stonejourner, but that's about it in terms of widely played Pokemon. Also, right, check the artwork. This just looks like generic British countryside field, and I say that with nothing but love and admiration. But what does it do? Well, it's the ability here we're really worried about. Once during your turn, when you put this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you may put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Oh. You play it to the bench, you pick up a supporter card. Does that sound familiar? It should. It's Versus Seeker. It is literally an ability version of Versus Seeker. And Versus Seeker was phenomenal. Now, to be fair, Versus Seeker was also an item card, not a Pokemon. Because here's the thing, right? When you put this on your bench, it's a Pokemon V, which means it is a 2-prize Pokemon sitting on your bench potentially going to be KO'd. Not to say it will be, but it could be. It is a 2-prize Pokemon that sits on your bench and can be taken out, which is potentially terrifying. Certainly something we got to bear in mind here. It is a 2-prize liability on your bench. Even if it doesn't get KO'd, it's still taking up a bench space, and it's still an ability. Now, as it stands at the moment, there's nothing really that turns off Pokemon V abilities. Power Plant and Mimikyu only actually work for Pokemon GX, so unless your opponent's got a Slacking in the active, and to be fair, Slacking's gonna rotate like 3 months after this comes out anyway. This should be out in May, we're expecting Slacking to rotate in August. So, you're safe. But it's not always going to be that way. At some point, something is going to be released to turn off Pokemon V abilities. I feel extremely confident about that. So that's going to be even more awkward. But until then, it's still a phenomenal ability. But then again, a bunch of you, when I told you what this did, probably went, well, hang on a second. Isn't that the Mewtwo from Unbroken Bonds? Yes. Kind of. You see, it's not really the Mewtwo from Unbroken Bonds, because the Mewtwo from Unbroken Bonds put a supporter card from your discard pile on top of your deck. It's not the same thing, because on top of your deck means you have to actually be able to draw it then. And sure, if you're playing something like Chinchino, love it. But if you're not, this can be awkward. Now, to be fair, Mewtwo can also be searched out with Mysterious Treasure, which makes it better. But Mewtwo's not really had a huge amount of time to shine because non-GX search was awkward. But we got Quick Ball now. And this also has Netball. And being able to search this out with both Quick Ball and Netball might make it better. But then again, Mewtwo can be searched with Mysterious Treasure or Quick Ball. So, yeah. It is better than Mewtwo, don't get me wrong. It's clearly better than Mewtwo. The difference here is that Mewtwo only gives up 1 prize, and this gets KO'd and gives up 2 prizes. Now this also should remind you a little bit of Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele was a phenomenal card that saw a phenomenal amount of play, and when you played it from your hand onto the bench, you got to search your deck for a supporter card and put it in your hand. And let's be clear, this is not Tapu Lele. You see, the big difference with Tapu Lele, and it was a big difference with Tapu Lele, early game, turn 1 option. That's the difference. You could, on your first turn of the game, play this down and find yourself a consistency supporter, something like a Professor Sycamore at the time. Or you could play this when you wanted, and you could find yourself a Guzma. Or you could find yourself an Ace Roller. And you could use them straight away at the correct, perfect time to really get the most benefit from them. Can we do that here? And the answer is yes, but not turn 1. This is not... I mean, to be fair, you can't play a supporter turn 1 going first anyway, new rule. But you cannot just play this down and go and grab yourself a Professor's Research. But in the mid to late game, you can. Let's say you've run out of Boss's Orders. Yeah, that's a new card I showed you a minute ago. It's phenomenal. If you missed that video, it's literally a reprint of Lysander. You should probably check that video out. It's kind of a big deal. So you can just grab that. And to be fair, it means that if you've played all of them, or you've played all the ones that aren't prized, you can then grab one out of your discard pile and play it right away. That is a really good use for this. But you could do that with Mewtwo as well. It's a phenomenal ability, but this is clearly lined up, and we were told, right? I showed you a video a little while ago where I told you that we'd been told in Japan that there was going to be a Pokemon V with a essentially meta-fining ability, which had to be Gusting or Draw because they're the only ones that define the meta. And essentially we had Shaymin, then we had Tapu Lele, then we had Dedenne, now we have this. This is the next in line. There is a straight line from Shaymin, Tapu Lele, Dedenne, and this. And Shaymin is flat out phenomenal. And Tapu Lele was so good, a lot of people actually stopped playing Shaymin before rotation. It started to replace it. Dedenne is not quite to the same level as those two, but let's be clear, it sees play in a huge amount of decks, not just Lightning decks. Is this as good? I don't think so. I don't think this is as good as the other three. I think it's really good. I think it's going to see a bunch of play. I think that it's going to be great for using your supporters in the mid to late game. But what all those three had in common, what was great about all those other three cards was turn 1, I've got nothing, let's go. Or, I've got nothing in my hand, hey, I've drawn this Pokemon, let's go. And you can do that with Eldegoss if you've got the right supporter in the discard pile. And let's be fair, in Expanded, where Versus Seeker shines, we've also got Battle Compressor, which means you can discard the right supporter early game to reuse it with Versus Seeker. That ain't for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't for nothing. Now, in terms of the attack here, it's actually kind of a useful attack that fits a Pokemon like this perfectly. For 2 colorless energy, you do 50 damage, and you have the option, if you want to, don't have to shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. Gee whiz, does that sound a little bit familiar? It is exactly the kind of ability that we've seen on Pokemon like this. I mean, if we go back to Shaymin, 2 colorless energy, return this Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your hand. Dedenne, 1 lightning, 1 colorless. Now, it was a GX attack, to be fair. 50 damage, paralysis, and then you put this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. Tapu Lele didn't have one of these attacks. So essentially what you do for 2 colorless energy is you take this card and you put it back into your deck, ready to reuse it in the future. Probably not as good as Shaymin going back to your hand, but then again you do an extra 20 damage, and you've got an extra 70 HP, so... The other thing is, of course, I've talked about it being a 2-prize liability, and it is, but it's not a 2-prize liability if you shuffle it back into your deck. And also, if you want to hit for Grass Weakness, this will hit for Grass Weakness. It's weak, it's not doing that much damage, but if you can afford to spend a turn on the attack, it gets it off the field. If you really need to hit for Grass Weakness, this is alright. The thing that really makes me sad about it, Shaman had double colourless energy. This doesn't. There are 2 cards that we could use here, but we can't actually use either of them. Triple Acceleration Energy is free colourless energy on an evolved Pokemon, and this is really annoying because it would shuffle it into your deck, and Triple Acceleration falls off at the end of your turn, but it wouldn't because it'd be shuffled into your deck. But no, you're not an evolved Pokemon. And we got Twin Energy the other day, or it's coming in this previous, well, it's coming in VMAX Rising in Japan, so the set before in Japan, the same set for us. But it's only 1 colourless energy if attached to a Pokemon V, which this is. So we don't have 1 good energy to attach. And that's kind of annoying. And that's kind of what I feel about Eldegoss. I like the ability, but it's not as good as Tapu Lele. And arguably, it's just a slightly better Mewtwo that gives up an extra prize. And I'm annoyed about the attack because we don't have 1 energy card that will just pay it. Sure, we could use Rillaboom, and sure, we could use Welder, but wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to? I don't know. I'm still giving it 4 Wassies because it's still a really good ability, and I still think there's an awful lot of potential, and I do think it will see play. But whereas Shaman, Tapu Lele and Dedenne were all hands down meta-defining 5 Wossie cards, this I'm fairly sure is a card they told us that was basically the next in line, and it's not to the same degree. At least I don't think it is. Maybe you disagree with me, in which case, let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have any Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darn good regardless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.